The Nile River flowed through Egypt, a symbol of life and power. On its banks, a dynasty of pharaohs had ruled for centuries, but their time was fading. A new power, Rome, was rising in the west, and in the city of Alexandria, a young princess was about to be swept up in the currents of history. Her name was Cleopatra. Born in 69 BCE, she was destined to be the last pharaoh of Egypt. Her story is one of ambition, love, and tragedy. Cleopatra's life has captivated historians for centuries. She was a woman of extraordinary intelligence and charisma. Cleopatra was fluent in multiple languages and a skilled diplomat. She knew how to use her charm and wit to get what she wanted. But she was also a shrewd politician who understood the complexities of power. This is the story of how Cleopatra fought to claim her birthright and become the Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra's Egypt was a land of contrasts. Alexandria, its capital, was a bustling metropolis. The city was a center of learning and culture, home to the famed Library of Alexandria. But beyond the city walls, poverty and unrest were common. The Ptolemaic dynasty, to which Cleopatra belonged, was in decline. Ptolemy XII was more interested in pleasure than in governing. When he died in 51 BCE, he left his kingdom to Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. They were to rule as co-regents, but Cleopatra had no intention of sharing power. She was determined to rule Egypt alone. Ptolemy XIII had different plans. He was a pawn in the hands of ambitious advisors who wanted to control Egypt for themselves. They saw Cleopatra as a threat, a young woman with too much ambition. They conspired against her, stripping her of her authority and forcing her to flee Alexandria. Cleopatra was alone, exiled in her own kingdom. But she was not defeated. She would return, and she would claim what was rightfully hers. The stage was set for a power struggle that would determine the fate of Egypt. Cleopatra, Serpent. Philophator was born into a world of luxury and intrigue. She was a princess of the Ptolemaic dynasty, rulers of Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. Her city, Alexandria, was a beacon of civilization, a melting pot of cultures on the Mediterranean coast. The palace walls echoed with the sounds of many languages. Greek, the language of her ancestors, filled the air, but so did Egyptian, Hebrew, and Latin. Cleopatra grew up surrounded by scholars, diplomats, and artists. She observed her father, Ptolemy XII, navigating the treacherous waters of court politics. Even as a young girl, Cleopatra possessed a thirst for knowledge that knew no bounds. She would spend hours in the palace gardens, gazing at the stars and peppering her tutors with questions about the universe. Her mind was a sponge, absorbing information about history, philosophy, and mathematics. But life in the palace was not all idyllic. Power struggles and betrayals were commonplace. Cleopatra witnessed firsthand the fragility of her dynasty's grasp on Egypt. These early experiences would shape her understanding of the world and fuel her ambition to secure her own place in it. Cleopatra's education was unparalleled. She had access to the finest tutors in the land, men and women renowned for their wisdom and scholarship. The Royal Library of Alexandria, a wonder of the ancient world, became her sanctuary. Within its hallowed halls, scrolls containing the accumulated knowledge of centuries awaited her exploration. She delved into the works of Greek philosophers like Plato and Aristotle. her mind grappling with their complex theories about politics, ethics, and the nature of reality. She studied the histories of Greece, Rome, and Egypt, learning from the triumphs and failures of those who came before her. Mathematics, astronomy, and medicine also captivated her intellect. Cleopatra's education was not merely about accumulating knowledge, it was about honing her skills as a future ruler. She learned the art of rhetoric, mastering the power of persuasion through eloquent speech. She studied diplomacy, understanding the delicate dance of alliances and negotiations. The royal library was not just a repository of knowledge, it was a training ground for a future queen. Cleopatra emerged from its depths armed with an intellect as sharp as any sword, and a spirit as vast as the library's collection. Cleopatra understood that language was power. Unlike many of her predecessors, who relied on interpreters, she made it her mission to master the languages of her subjects. While Greek remained the language of the court, Cleopatra knew that to truly connect with the Egyptian people, she needed to speak their tongue. Her efforts to learn Egyptian earned her the respect and admiration of her subjects. They saw in her a ruler who respected their culture and traditions. This linguistic ability set her apart from previous Ptolemaic rulers and would prove to be a valuable asset in her quest for power. Beyond Egyptian, Cleopatra was fluent in numerous other languages, including Ethiopian, Hebrew, Arabian, Syrian, Median, and Parthian. She could converse with diplomats and merchants from across the known world, building relationships and gathering information without the need for intermediaries. Her linguistic prowess was more than just a parlor trick. It was a strategic advantage in the game of power. It enabled her to forge alliances, negotiate treaties, and project an image of strength and competence on the world stage. The year was 51 BCE. Ptolemy XII, Pharaoh of Egypt, lay on his deathbed. His breath came in ragged gasps, his body racked with illness. Around him, the palace buzzed with anxiety and anticipation. The fate of Egypt hung in the balance.
In his final hours, Ptolemy summoned his advisors to his bedside. He dictated his will, outlining his vision for the future of Egypt. His eldest daughter, Cleopatra, and his young son, Ptolemy XIII, were to rule as co-regents. Together they would inherit the throne of the Ptolemies, but Ptolemy XIV knew that his kingdom was vulnerable. Rome, with its legions and its insatiable appetite for conquest, cast a long shadow over Egypt. To secure his legacy, Ptolemy made a fateful decision. He declared Rome to be the protector of Egypt, placing his faith in the hands of the rising power in the West.
As Ptolemy XII breathed his last, a hush fell over the palace. The pharaoh was dead. Long live the new rulers of Egypt. But the question remained, could Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII rule together, or would their rivalry tear Egypt apart? Cleopatra, at the age of 18, was already a formidable presence. She possessed her father's intelligence and ambition, but she also had a charisma and political acumen that he had lacked. She was determined to rule Egypt in her own right, not as a mere figurehead alongside her brother.
Ptolemy XIII, however, was a mere boy, easily influenced by the ambitious courtiers who surrounded him. They saw Cleopatra as a threat to their own power, and they whispered in the young king's ear, poisoning his mind against his sister. The court split into two factions, those who supported Cleopatra and those who saw her as an obstacle to their own ambitions. Intrigue and treachery became the order of the day. Alliances shifted like desert sands, and whispers of rebellion filled the palace corridors.
Cleopatra, refusing to be a pawn in their games, gathered her own supporters. She rallied the Egyptian people to her cause, appealing to their sense of history and tradition. She reminded them that she, like them, embraced the ancient customs of Egypt, even speaking their language.
Cleopatra's determination and strategic brilliance would soon be put to the test as Egypt teetered on the brink of civil war. As tensions escalated, Cleopatra found herself increasingly isolated in Alexandria. Her brother's advisors, fearing her growing influence, plotted to remove her from power. They spread rumors about her, accusing her of treason and plotting to usurp the throne.
They think they can break me with their lies and deceit, but they underestimate my resolve.
In 48 BCE, the situation reached a boiling point. Ptolemy XIII's forces, led by the ambitious general Achilles, marched on Alexandria. Cleopatra, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, was forced to flee the city. She sought refuge in Upper Egypt, gathering her loyal followers and preparing for a counterattack.
I cannot defeat my brother's forces alone. I need an ally, a powerful force that can tip the scales in my favor.
And as fate would have it, a golden opportunity presented itself. Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, arrived in Alexandria, pursuing his rival Pompey the Great. Cleopatra saw her chance. She knew that Caesar was a man of ambition and that he would be drawn to her intelligence and her potential to be a valuable ally. The early years of Cleopatra's reign were tumultuous. Alexandria, the jewel of her kingdom, descended into chaos. Her brother's advisors, hungry for power, tightened their grip on the young Ptolemy XIII. They viewed Cleopatra as an obstacle, a threat to their ambitions. Whispers of conspiracy filled the palace. Assassins lurked in the shadows. Cleopatra knew she was in danger. Her life hung by a thread. Trust became a luxury she could no longer afford. Even within the palace walls, she was surrounded by enemies. The Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, ran red with the blood of her loyal followers. Her brother's forces, spurred on by his advisors, cracked down on any perceived threat to their authority. The city, once a beacon of civilization, was now gripped by fear and paranoia. Cleopatra, refusing to be cowed, fought back with every weapon at her disposal. She rallied her remaining supporters, drawing on her intelligence and charisma to maintain their loyalty. But she knew that time was running out. She had to make a decision, a choice that would determine her destiny. Faced with overwhelming odds, Cleopatra made a daring escape from Alexandria. Under the cover of darkness, she slipped out of the palace, leaving behind the city of her birth. With a small band of loyal followers, she fled into the unforgiving embrace of the Egyptian desert.
The luxuries of the palace are gone. Now we face the harsh realities of life on the run, but we will endure. We must.
The scorching sun beat down mercilessly. Sand stung her eyes, and thirst parched her throat. But Cleopatra was no stranger to hardship. She embraced the simplicity of the desert, finding strength in its stark beauty. She shared the burdens of her followers, eating their meager rations and sleeping under the open sky. In exile, Cleopatra plotted her return. She sent messages to her allies, seeking support for her claim to the throne. She knew that she could not defeat her brother's forces alone. She needed help, a powerful ally who could challenge the status quo. News of turmoil in Egypt reached Rome. Julius Caesar, fresh from his victories in Gaul, saw an opportunity. Egypt, the breadbasket of the Mediterranean, was too valuable a prize to ignore. He set sail for Alexandria with his legions, arriving at a pivotal moment in the Egyptian power struggle.
Caesar's arrival sent shockwaves through the city. Ptolemy XIII and his advisors, initially welcoming, soon realized the Roman general was not merely a mediator. Caesar, known for his ambition and ruthlessness, had his own agenda.
Cleopatra, in exile, saw Caesar's arrival as a chance for a daring gamble. She knew of Caesar's reputation, his weakness for beauty and intellect. To regain her throne, she needed to reach him, to convince him that her cause was his own. The stage was set for a clandestine meeting, a meeting that could change the course of Egyptian history. Cleopatra, resourceful and daring, devised a plan as audacious as it was dangerous. The palace in Alexandria, now under Ptolemy III's control, was heavily guarded. Reaching Caesar, surrounded by his legions and Egyptian advisors, seemed impossible. But Cleopatra, with her quick wit and understanding of human nature, devised a plan.
She chose a loyal servant, a man known for his discretion and strength. She procured a magnificent carpet, its rich fabrics hiding a secret. Cleopatra, her heart pounding, entrusted her fate to the roll of the carpet and the loyalty of her servant.
Smuggled into the palace under the cover of darkness, the carpet, with its precious cargo, was presented to Caesar. The Roman general, intrigued by this unexpected gift, ordered his guards to unfurl it. As the carpet unrolled, Cleopatra emerged, a vision of regal beauty and determination. Caesar, captivated by her presence and her audacity, was immediately smitten. The room crackled with unspoken tension, the fate of Egypt hanging in the balance. Cleopatra, fluent in Latin, addressed Caesar directly, bypassing the need for translators and further solidifying their connection. She presented her case with passion and logic, arguing that she, the rightful heir, was the key to a stable and prosperous Egypt, an Egypt that would benefit Rome.
She spoke of her brother's advisors, their greed and incompetence, their manipulation of the young king. She promised Caesar wealth, grain, and a partnership that would secure Roman interests in the region.
Caesar, a shrewd judge of character, listened intently. He saw in Cleopatra not just a beautiful woman, but a capable ruler, a woman of ambition and intelligence. Her courage and determination impressed him. After days of deliberation, Caesar made his decision. He would support Cleopatra's claim to the throne. He ordered Ptolemy XIII to reconcile with his sister and recognize her as co-ruler. The alliance, a calculated risk for both Caesar and Cleopatra, would have far-reaching consequences for Egypt and the Roman Republic. With Caesar's backing, Cleopatra's fortunes changed dramatically. No longer a fugitive in her own land, she returned to Alexandria, not as a supplicant, but as a queen, her authority bolstered by Roman legions. Cleopatra, ever the pragmatist, knew that appearances mattered. She understood the importance of symbolism in solidifying her grip on power. She embraced the trappings of her Ptolemaic ancestors, presenting herself as the embodiment of Egyptian royalty, a living goddess descended from the pharaohs of old. But behind the dazzling facade was a mind as sharp as any blade.
Fluent in both Egyptian and Roman customs, I became Caesar's indispensable ally, his confidant in a foreign land. She guided him through the labyrinthine corridors of Egyptian politics, her knowledge and insights proving invaluable to the Roman general. Their relationship, however, was more than just political expediency.
Captivated by Cleopatra's intellect and charm, I found myself drawn to the Egyptian queen. Our nights were filled with whispered conversations, shared laughter, and a passion that transcended the boundaries of culture and language.
The birth of Caesarion, Cleopatra's son, sent shockwaves through the Roman world. Rumors flew like arrows across the Mediterranean. Was this child, born in the shadow of the pyramids, the true heir to Caesar's legacy? The answer to that question had the potential to reshape the very foundations of Roman power.
Recognizing the danger and the opportunity that Caesarion represented, I knew that my son's claim to Caesar's legacy would be met with fierce resistance from Rome's elite, who saw in this Egyptian prince a threat to their own ambitions.
To protect her son and secure his future, Cleopatra knew that she had to tread carefully. She needed to maintain her alliance with Caesar while also ensuring that Egypt remained independent, free from Roman domination. But fate, as it so often does, had other plans. In 44 BCE, Julius Caesar, the man who had helped Cleopatra reclaim her throne, was assassinated in Rome. The news of his death reached Alexandria like a clap of thunder, shaking the foundations of Cleopatra's world. The Roman world reeled from Caesar's assassination. In the power vacuum left by his death, ambitious men vied for control of the Republic.
Among them was Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general and close friend. I had inherited a portion of Caesar's power and a burning desire to avenge his death.
News of Caesar's assassination reached Cleopatra in Alexandria. She mourned his loss, not just as a lover, but as an ally who had secured her position. With Caesar gone, her grip on power felt tenuous. She needed a new protector, a powerful Roman who could rival the ambitions of Caesar's assassins.
Antony, too, faced challenges. My rivals in Rome sought to undermine my authority. I needed allies, resources, and legitimacy to solidify my position. My gaze turned eastward towards Egypt, a kingdom renowned for its wealth and ruled by a queen known for her intelligence and charm.
Fate, it seemed, was about to bring Cleopatra and Mark Antony together. Their paths, forged in the crucible of Roman politics, were about to intersect on the grand stage of history. Their alliance, born of necessity and ambition, would reshape the destiny of both Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra received an invitation, a summons to meet Mark Antony in Tarsus, a city in Asia Minor. Antony, eager to assess the Egyptian queen's loyalty and potential as an ally, demanded her presence. He had heard tales of her beauty and her intellect, but he was also wary of her reputation for cunning and ambition.
Cleopatra, aware of the high stakes involved, saw this meeting as an opportunity. I understood the importance of first impressions, and I was determined to make a grand entrance, one that would captivate Antony's attention and solidify my position as the Queen of Egypt.
She ordered her most magnificent barge prepared for the journey. Its sails, woven from the finest Egyptian linen, billowed like clouds in the Mediterranean breeze. The scent of exotic perfumes and the melodies of musicians filled the air, announcing her arrival long before her barge reached the harbor of Tarsus.
When I finally stepped ashore, it was as if a vision had materialized from the sea. I was adorned in shimmering robes, my beauty enhanced by the artistry of my handmaidens. My presence radiated power and allure, captivating all who beheld me.
The alliance between Cleopatra and Mark Antony, a potent blend of love and political strategy, ignited the Roman world. Their combined forces posed a significant threat to Octavian, Caesar's heir and Antony's rival for control of Rome. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of empires.
In 31 BCE, off the coast of Actium in Greece, the fleets of Cleopatra and I faced off against the forces of Octavian, led by the skilled General Agrippa.
The air crackled with tension as the sun glinted off thousands of oars and the sea churned with the movement of warships.
The Battle of Actium was a clash of titans, a desperate struggle for supremacy. Cleopatra, aboard her flagship, watched as her Egyptian fleet, renowned for its maneuverability, battled valiantly against the larger, more heavily armed Roman vessels. But the tide of battle turned against Cleopatra and Antony. Octavian's forces, employing superior tactics and discipline, gradually gained the upper hand. As the day wore on, the outcome became clear. Defeat loomed over Cleopatra and Antony like a gathering storm. Facing certain defeat at Actium, Cleopatra, ever resourceful, ordered her fleet to break through the Roman lines and escape to Egypt. Antony, his hopes dashed and his forces shattered, followed in her wake. They retreated to Alexandria, their dreams of a shared empire lying in ruins.
In Alexandria, surrounded by Octavian's victorious legions, Antony and I faced a bleak future. Our enemies, eager for revenge, closed in. I refused to become a captive in Rome's triumph. I chose my own destiny. I would die a queen, not a prisoner.
The story of Cleopatra's death, like much of her life, is shrouded in legend. One account claims she died from the bite of an asp, a venomous snake, a symbol of royalty and divine power in ancient Egypt. Her death, swift and painless, allowed her to cheat her enemies and secure her place in history.
Cleopatra's legacy is complex and multifaceted. I was a shrewd politician, a skilled diplomat, and a patron of the arts and sciences. My reign marked the last gasp of the Ptolemaic dynasty, but my story has captivated imaginations for centuries.
Despite her defeat at Actium, Cleopatra remains an enduring symbol of female power and agency. She challenged the conventions of her time, ruling as an equal alongside some of the most powerful men in the world. Her story, a blend of fact and fiction, continues to fascinate and inspire, a testament to the enduring allure of ancient Egypt and the enigmatic queen who ruled it.